Yo, it's good. It's your man 100 Grand, Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today, I need to come back and circle around to a video that I did earlier about the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. In that video, I specifically laid out why both teams were likely really frantic about making sure that they secured that number 2 seed to avoid the Denver Nuggets. But in this video, I want to talk about how the Golden State Warriors just got a huge reprieve. They got a huge reprieve. If you like this video, I want you to smash that like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. And let's get into it. First off, I want to say that no one is diminishing the accomplishments of what the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies have done up until this season. To say that they were frantic about trying to secure the number 2 seed was not to suggest that they were these teams that should be doubtful about their possibilities in the playoffs, that should be in any way, shape, or form insecure about the solidified standings of what they've been able to do all year. But one thing that I can point out is that at the time, the Denver Nuggets were expecting the return of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., two 20-plus points per game scorers, all-star level players, dynamic players to come to the rescue of their MVP, Nikola Jokic, who at the time was holding down that Denver Nuggets around the 5 or 6 seed. Since then, the Denver Nuggets have slid to the 7th seed, though I think that they're going to secure that 6th seed by the end of the season. Minnesota has a pretty rough schedule coming ahead. But it's to say that Jamal Murray and Kevin Porter Jr. don't seem likely to return before the playoffs. And if they haven't returned by the beginning of the playoffs, I don't expect them to play in the playoffs at all or to be effective. You see, one of the things that is really significant about the playoffs is it really reveals who you have always been. Because of the ability of teams to game plan for you and to begin to take away different things that you might have been able to do throughout the season, you end up having to really focus on what you are best at. And the Golden State Warriors know what they're best at. They are a systems-oriented team built around shooting and primarily the shooting extravagance of Stephen Curry. Now, when you look at how this team is set up, they have their big three. They have Draymond, they have Clay, they have Steph. But everyone outside of that is unproven in the playoffs. Everyone outside of that is a big question mark still. Whether it's James Wiseman returning from injury, the young guys, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, or the up-and-coming guys, Jordan Poole, or the relevance of Andrew Wiggins finally fulfilling his potential, or Kayvon Looney being able to continue to hold down that center position. None of those guys outside of the big three have had big-time playoff performances that the Golden State Warriors can say, you know what, we can count on them. You see, when these playoffs begin, it's going to come down to who is able to make the game easiest for their team, who is able to break down the other team's defense to allow their offense to be maximally efficient. Because let's be clear, the shooting is going to go down percentage-wise. It does across the board. Why? Because teams close out harder. They know what you want to do. They game plan for it. They set up defenses specifically to make it harder. And so what you're going to see is guys that may have been able to have hot games in the regular season are going to struggle a little bit more in the postseason. And that's where the playoff experience of Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Stephen Curry is going to come in. Because these guys know how to get buckets and get open after the defense makes the major adjustments and game plans for a full series for them. And this is where I think the biggest break for them is going to come. Because they're going to be going up against a Nikola Jokic. And even though the Denver Nuggets are a battle-tested team, their big three is not intact. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray are likely not going to be there. which means that even though they'll have Bones Highland and other guys who've been stepping up along the way, they're not going to be battle tested. They're still going to be big time question marks. And so then when you look at a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, who's sitting at that number 2 seed, they get a bit of a reprieve as well. They're no longer pushing for that number 2 seed, which means that Ja Morant's injury, even though it doesn't seem serious in the least bit, they might be looking at resting him down the stretch a little bit. We saw in the last game, Tyus Jones getting the start. They played excellent. They played excellent with him all year. And so they might be sitting back saying, you know what, we're going to need Ja Morant to be closing out games in the playoffs against great defenses. We're going to need him to carry us from first round to the second round, to the third round, to the finals. We need to make sure that we have this guy rested and ready to go. And that's where I think both these teams are going to get a reprieve, because the real challenge is going to come in that second round. It's going to come when those two teams meet. And by then, I'm pretty much assured Stephen Curry is going to be back. The big three will be intact, but so will Memphis. Memphis will likely play the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round. I see them likely sweeping, and I'll probably do a video on that in a moment, that they're likely going to sweep the Minnesota Timberwolves for the very reasons that I've been listening this entire time. The playoffs are about experience. The playoffs are about understanding what that intensity is going to feel like, the adjustments by teams, the calls that you're going to get and not going to get by the referees, and how to push through those moments of intensity, frustration, and how to play a full game. These guys for the Timberwolves have not done that. And it may seem like I'm hating on them, but it's just basketball. It's just basketball. You know, I'll tell you all a quick story. When I was young, I used to hoop a whole lot, and I was pretty good. Me and my partners was good. A lot of them went D1. We played some overseas. We had a lot of fun. But one day, we was in our late teens, like 18, 19. We were on a court. There was a bunch of old school guys. And we walked on there with our 5, and we thought we was about to run them off the court and be on the court all day. When I tell you these old school cats worked us, they worked us, man. They worked us. They made us feel bad. They got us off the court so fast. The end score was somewhere around 15-6. And when we got off, they looked at us and called us over and said, "Hey, young bucks, don't be upset. This is what we do." You see, there's a difference between the playoff teams and those who are hopefuls. The hopefuls may have talent, but this isn't what you do yet. You don't know this part of the game yet. The Denver Nuggets, if they had their big three, oh, they would be dangerous. They would be absolutely scary. Matter of fact, if they had a full season with all three, and likely next season, I wouldn't be shocked if they break through and get to the NBA Finals. Because I'm hard-pressed to find a team that would have such a dynamic big three core. And that's counted the Golden State Warriors. They would be right on par with them. But it's to say that right now they don't have it. And the J. Michael Greens and the Bones Highland and Austin Rivers, and these guys, they're not going to be able to hold a candle to the Golden State Warriors. I think they'll win a couple games for sure. Likely the home games, because Nikola Jokic is just that good. He's going to make the game easy for those guys. And they play together. They believe in each other. They've had a tight-knit group all season. But the reality is when you look at this team and how they're constructed, they don't have the talent. They don't have the talent to go up against the Golden State Warriors. And so the Golden State Warriors have dodged a bullet. Yeah, they'll get tested a little bit. Bones, I think, will have a big game or two. Monte Morris will be solid as usual. Aaron Gordon, shout out San Jose, city of San Jose. He's gonna play well. He's gonna be solid. Excellent defense, right? Backdoor cuts, second chance shots, right? But it's not gonna be enough to knock off the Warriors, and the Warriors know that. So they can take their time in allowing Stephen Curry to come back from injury. They won't be rushing him. I doubt they were going to rush him anyhow, but they definitely won't now. And they're going to make sure that their team is healthy and ready to go. And they're going to use the Denver Nuggets as a strong warm-up. for the playoffs because Nikola Jokic is just that formidable. And even if the Minnesota Timberwolves, by some chance, happen to hang on to that number 6 seed, I still see them getting swept. I do. I watched them play against the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo. And when you watch them play, I saw a lot of crying. I saw a lot of begging the refs for calls. Now you're down to the last, 6, 7 games, 8 games of the season, knowing that the intensity is going to come up and you're still begging for calls. Yeah, it's nice when you get to beat up on the Lakers with a Russell Westbrook who doesn't know how to win and airballing threes. Yeah, it's nice when you get to beat up on the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis, the MVP, or 2 years ago, running MVP, right? Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Yeah, it's great. It's great. You guys are excited. You guys are just like we were, 18, 19 years old, just happy to be there. Happy-go-lucky, wet behind the ears, because you don't do this yet. The Minnesota Timberwolves, you guys don't do this yet. It's your first time back to the dance since Jimmy Butler led you guys there. Jimmy Butler's been to the NBA Finals, All-NBA, All-Defense, multiple-time All-Star. It's your first time getting back. Towns, will see if you do better this time around. But from the way I see it, you're food. The Minnesota Timberwolves are food for whoever wants to get through the first round easiest. And that's what it's looking like. Y'all let me know what you think. Hit me up on my Twitter account, Rock Never Stops #2. Or you can hit me up in the comment section. You know I respond. If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and the bell for notifications. And I can't wait till the next one, y'all. Peace.